Yes, yeah. Good evening. Wonderful people, good evening. Okay, I think we're live now. Good evening, everyone. If you can hear me, please just say hi so we know we are live and we are back, active. Let my people confirm. I need a confirmation just to be sure that we are live. Oh, beautiful. Good evening, everyone. And this is Nation Building Series with Femi Owoyele. It's so beautiful, and I'm so glad to be back again. The series that started just recently, and I believe this is our second edition, and I trust that it's going to be another beautiful night, just like we had it the other time. And then I like to just see someone say hi. I like to be sure I'm fully live, especially on Facebook. I know I'm live on Instagram, Simtra Properties. Thanks for joining. I'm also live on Instagram. For those that may want to know, is at Fowoyele, and we are live on Facebook, Femi Owoyele Profile. Beautiful. Now I know that we are live. So tonight is another night where we dig into the world of politics, what we could call the world of political education. So, but before I move on tonight, I'd like to say a very, very big thank you to everyone that joined, especially last week. I'd like to really appreciate your comments, your feedback. The feedback has been really has been more than encouraging. Let me use the word that way. The feedback has really been more than encouraging. I've had calls, I've got chats, and I've also got honest feedback on the things maybe we need to put in order and all that. So, but primarily, it's been encouraging, and I like to say thank you. So, without wasting time at all, I like us to move straight into the point. Last week we had a beautiful session, and I'll just do a quick recap of the things that we looked at last week. We looked at number one, the essence for this program. I said it's Nation Building Series, and I was able to clarify what it is not and what it is. One of the things that it is not, I can see you, Eugene Weke, that is our guy. Good to see you, sir. Agurege Ajewole, I can see you. Read one, Sulaimon Odeke, thank you for joining. So last week, Paul, I can see you, thanks for joining. Last week we looked at what this series is not, and I said number one, it is not a political news updates series where would come up to say, Abiodun Karim, thank you for joining. It is not a political series where we'll come around to discuss issues that is happening in the polity primarily. It is not political roundup. It is primarily a platform for political education, basic, and I'm careful to use my word at this stage, basic political education, fundamental issues that are like everyday issues. Let's just take a word, democracy. What does it mean? How does it connect? How do we relate with this concept? What participation, or to what extent can we work with this concept, and what are our roles? Those are basic things. Currently, we are looking at political participation. So I was able to say that it is not another political debate platform. It is not a news platform. It is not a program to promote an individual or a political party's agenda. It is not a political science class. I said that last week, so that it would not necessarily be that we'll be having argument about perspectives, about orientation, about there are theories, theoretical framework and all that. No, it is primarily a basic political education platform where we'll get to analyze concepts, where we'll get to demystify some words, some concepts, and some ideas that we can relate with at a relatable level for everyone on the platform. Tinubu, thanks for joining. So why this session? Last week I said there's an obvious political vacuum that this series would need to fill, and that obvious political vacuum obvious vacuum rather is the fact that a lot of people know about the things happening in our environment. News are spread, including rumors are spread. We are concerned genuinely about the challenges that we face as a people, as a society, especially as a nation. And we really want to push a front that provides an equitable distribution of resources. We want to put a front that provides equality, that reduces cases of marginalization, that helps us to really work out our essence as a people and maximize our potentials. But unfortunately, usually when we need to engage, knowledge helps us to engage accurately and properly. So that is what this is trying to supply, like an energy to provide fundamental education, knowledge about concepts, about processes, about politics, about policies and all that. So we'll just discuss, and like I said, as we move on, we would also thank you Ridu. I joined first and you mentioned, oh, thank you so much. So let's move on straight away. Today, last week we looked at the why do people even want to join politics. What are the motivations? We analyzed all those last week. We looked at the mode of engagement. We looked at what is politics. If you remember, we looked at a few definitions, but I was particular about David Easton's definition because I needed to use it to analyze how the political spectrum flow. There are a lot of theories, like I admitted last week, but I used that to explain how the different stages of the political spectrum, and to ask a fundamental question of where are you in this value chain. For example, I'd said that there is an input end. The political system as propounded by David Easton is just like is a spectrum where there's an input end. On the input end are things like the demands of the people, the support of the people, interest of the people, and the whole process of all that is needed from the system. All these things come into a black box. It's called a black box because the things that are done there are not necessarily seen. There is a lot of process. That is the government structure. So you have the legislature, the executive, the judiciary, all the process of governance. That is where you call the government. So all the process of governance happen there. The process, they need to analyze based on available resources. They need to aggregate all the interest, because if they were to attend to all resources and even all that is needed to do that will not be enough. So they needed to pay attention. There is a need for aggregation of interest and allocation of resources based on allocation based on available resources. So that is what happens there. So you could have said, oh, we need road in this place, we need new school, we have 100,000 people living in this area, but we need a school, we need this, we need that, this is a support, we support this policy and all. By the time the government looks at it, based on what is obtainable, these are the things. So those things come out from the black box as what? Outputs. Outputs basically are now governmental decisions, policies, directions, programs, projects, and all what have you. And then the effect the outputs now have is what becomes the outcome. The outcome are now the results, the results, that the impact that this generates, and all the outcome, of course, now goes back again as either as input. So it's a cyclical mode, and it keeps going on and I ask the fundamental question: where are you in the scheme of things? I've seen a lot of people join. I may not be able to mention name, Kisomi, Obagade, Isholu. I can see a lot of people join, but like I said, I appreciate your band music. Good to see you, ma. On Instagram, BT T-shirt, thank you so much. I really appreciate everybody. So like I said, primarily our focus last week was, what is your role in the scheme of things? How effective are you in the entire value chain? Because I also mentioned that politics is very significant to our everyday life, because yet a lot of people don't pay attention to it. We just think that it is what the government does that they like. We don't like them. They are corrupt people. They are dirty people. The game itself is dirty and all that. And we just see that whatever they say, and we believe that all of them are corrupt. The question is, who are the all of them? You can be part, And this is why we are demystifying this thing that looks very bogus. And I like you to pay attention. So last week we looked at political culture. That okay, there are different levels. Political culture is just like okay, a political way of life, to make it as basic as possible. And we looked at the different categories, and I told you that there is subject political culture, parochial political culture, and there is participant political culture. I said all these three, they are of course very evident in every political system, but the one that really the one that dominates the system is what defines the political culture. So for example, you could say maybe the United States and some of the countries in the West have more participant orientation when it comes to their political participation because of their culture. They are more aware, and maybe a number of people compared, so it's a relative statement now, compared to maybe some states in Africa and all that, where there's a level of subject mindset that, oh, we are aware of what is happening, but we really don't want to participate. Let them do what they like. We just condemn and all that primarily. So what I'm saying is that we looked at those spectrum last week also. Another thing we looked at last week is why participate, and we also analyzed that. But this week, it's another beautiful day, and it's another beautiful week. And I like you to pay attention to this week, because we are going to look at the how. We are going to look at, usually when we talk about political participation, to some people it is maybe joining political party. To some people it is just about reading news and knowing what is happening in our environment. So you say I'm also active politically and all that. To other people it is just by studying political science and other related courses. So that is not all that it is. It is far more broader in spectrum. It is far more weightier. It is more weightier matter when we really understand the impact and all that it happens. It's a weightier matter, and that's why I like you to pay attention today, because we'll look at those issues. So, but before we go into the how, I like us to look at what are the factors that actually influence participation, and one of it is political socialization and life experience. Of course, socialization, like we already know in our social studies, is just talking about how a people or a person internalizes the norms and values of the society vis-a-vis the agents or the relationship that you have growing up. So you have agents of socialization like family, you have the peer group, you have religious institutions, you have mass media, you have those agents where that is only saying that people grow. You grow into family. The values that your family pass on to you, the values that society pass on to you through the school. School is another good agent of socialization. So those are the things that you get used to. So there's also political socialization, and that's one major factor that influences participation. So is usually about what are the prevailing values of the people when it comes to policies, when it comes to politics, when it comes to engaging governance. So those are the things that you get used to. And I like to give a life experience example here, so that we can understand better. I remember a case that happened we all remember the June 12, 93 election. I remember very clearly the riots that happened post-election. And I mean, it literally stopped my primary school, and we had to relocate. I was going into primary 2 to primary 3 and all that. So we had a case. I was very active. My parents were, it was a popular situation then. Everybody, you were either for SDP or for NRC. In fact, if some of you would remember those songs, Tofa is the answer, Tofa. Then this popular one, Nawa for this life, so the point I'm making is that the enthusiasm and the interest, the energy with regards to active participation in politics, you could say it was just for election, but the energy was real. That a number of years down the line, some of us can still literally remember. In fact, I still have, I wish I brought it here, I still have this what do you call it now, lapel that my dad had and gave to me. I still have it till date. I kept it somewhere, of SDP. I'm not talking political parties, but I'm just trying to give you a picture of the depth of socialization that was very evident at that time. Imagine at that time and post, let's assume that the election went and was successful and everything went as planned, and the process continued, and you saw, as a child, imagine growing up into that consciousness that, see, we can participate, we will go out with them when they are doing this and all that. Imagine how much development, how much active participation level we would have had for many people. But of course, that is just a life. I'll also give another life experience, but as we move on, another factor that can influence is prevailing ideology, of course, which is also like an offshoot of what I just said now. You know, at that point, military took over again, and then so the ideology then was that of suppression, was that of intimidation, there was that of lack of freedom of expression, human rights were repressed. I mean, you could hardly, so there was no, you wouldn't, except for the pro-democracy champions and the freedom fighters and all that, there was generally no active participation, as it were, because of the system of government, because of the prevailing ideology. That's another thing that could influence participation generally now. And another thing is personal gratification. Some people would naturally just want to go into politics primarily because they know it's a lucrative business, and that's for those who see politics as majorly business. And I see politics more as service, and I wish that everyone who is aspiring at every level, or who is getting involved at every level, will see it from that perspective, because it's a service to people, it's a service to God, it's a service to humanity. And so whatever comes out as benefits are just should just be additions. Unfortunately, that is usually the motivation for a number of people to join in. But at that level where you join because of what you think you can get, there are usually issues too, because joining politics is an expensive adventure. If you would allow me call it an adventure, it's an expensive adventure, because a lot of people, of course, you have seen the ones that are in the front line, the politicians that are in the front line, but a lot of people, more often than not, have invested so much in politics, regardless of their motive, even if their motive was to really serve and to make impact and to change and to get lives of people better and all that. A lot of people have invested their resources, financial, time, every energy, people, and all that they had. And today, some of them usually even regret, because they've lost so much. So politics itself is an expensive adventure if you really want to get very active. But like I said, today we are looking at the how. So there are different levels of participation that may not necessarily require that you bring in your money and your savings and all that, because you want to serve the people. So we'll get into that. Thanks for joining. I saw Afumi Majakudumi, Adeyemi. I saw Loki Oshoba, Upenga Idowu. I saw all of you. Thank you, Femi Owoyele. Thank you so much for joining, and a lot more people. So let's move on straight. Like I said, today is going to be very direct. We are going to look at the steps one after the other, all the hours one after the other, that you could say that yes, we can engage. So the number one is learning. As simple as it seems, you can actually participate politically by first learning. So it's the foundation. Knowledge may need to form the foundation of any environment, anything you want to get involved. So learning is foundation, and I'd like to look at it this way. If you don't know how, if you don't know what, if you don't know the direction to go, you may not even be able to engage, as it were. So the first thing is learning. Read a bit of history. Read a bit of, when you see concepts, you must have that consciousness to learn, to understand the entire process. Read a bit of things about party politics, about Nigerian politics if you are Nigerian and you are interested in Nigerian politics. Read a bit about the history of the Nigerian people. You could look at a few areas of interest. You could decide to just read about independence. You could decide to read about colonialism. You could decide to read about the history of your people. Just have a fundamental understanding. Read about leadership, because I mean, instead of just talking about it, sometimes you just Google is your friend. Just take a phone, just check a few data, take some time to read. So, but why I'm saying learning is that you have to be deliberate about it. It's a conscious effort. It's a decision that you need to make. And then I like you to pay attention. Check up concepts. You could say federalism. Oh, this federalism we're just talking about, is it just only the delineation or distribution of power between the center and the regional units? Oh, does it entail something more that I don't know or that I need to research? Google is your friend. You naturally would learn more by just Googling it, if there's a word like that, and checking up things for yourself. So another thing is get updates on events. Something happened, instead of allowing rumors to just spread and joining bandwagon and just spreading news as it comes to your phone, take time out to also get updates. Oh, analyze policies. Just read up about, oh, government says they want to have a particular policy that directly or indirectly affects young people and all that. Read about it. Not too young to run bill. Oh, apart from just saying, oh, they will allow young people under 30 something to contest election and all that. Do you even have the details? To what extent? To what degree? What are the details of this? So deliberate intention to learn also helps or forms the foundation of your how, of your engaging in political participation. Number 2, you may also need to identify locally and start small. When I say identify, I'm not even talking about party politics yet. I'm just saying identify locally. Politics, like I said, is about service. Is about being part of a system of decision making, of its execution, of creation of law that affects the people directly and indirectly and all that. So you may need to understand that every politics, like they say, is local. And that's why you have to understand that identifying with your people, with your community, with where you are from, you say, I'm from this location, I'm from this place and all that, also is a necessity for engaging politics, because you can't just say, oh, you just come from nowhere and you want to take over and all. So sometimes you need to understand that you have to get local. And when I say get local, know a bit about your community. Who are your representatives? Let's even start from there. That's also part of knowledge. Know a bit about your representatives. Who are the people representing us? Know the things that, do you even understand their roles? And are there questions that are bothering you that you can ask? Can you just, don't say, oh, the local government, if you go there, they don't attend to people. Who do you even want to talk to and all that? Sometimes it's not as difficult as it were. I remember some years ago, I went with a friend to a local government somewhere where we're living then in Lagos, and we moved. We just went, we went there with an idea to solve a problem. I tell you the truth, within a few days, we were able to see the chairman. We had a meeting with him. He was so impressed. We put up a plan to implementing that project. Of course, he was a caretaker chairman, so his tenure was short-lived because of events, political events, and election and all that. But my point really is that it was just myself and a friend. We just decided that, see, this environment needs this and all that, and we can provide it. So it was a partnership. We're not going there primarily to ask for money. We said, let us see how we can, and that has always been the case. For if you are genuine, yes, you may also, of course, that also requires your doggedness, your tenacity of purpose, because you may also be rejected, you may also be discouraged. In fact, it got to a point when the chairman was going to approve the project, some of the members of staff of the local government were already talking to us that, so what is our share? And I'm like, what? At this level? But that's not my point for today. My point really is that, see, sometimes you just need to take a step further. Take a step further. Just push a little more. Two of us took a proposal to a chairman on a solution. We didn't know us from anywhere and all that. And he's attended to us, and we're already on a project together. So sometimes we are the one that allows these strongholds in our mind not to push further to say that I have this skill. You could just say, I want to do something for my community and all that. Take the first step. If you are rejected, keep pushing and all that. So that's why I say identify locally. Don't just say, oh, I want to be a part of politics, I want to take over. Calm down. We need to be calming down. Sometimes it's just a deliberate effort to also say, let me see how far I can go from where I am. That way, other things can evolve. Another point really is, also on that same platform, is you also get to connect. If it's your community, connect with a network of people. You may be surprised to meet like minds you have circles of people that whether you think alike or not and all that. You also have the beauty of having various perspectives, various people with different approaches to life, with their perspective and all that. I mean, let me give an example. Another example, in 2007, 2008, I wanted to contest for an election in school, still on campus, and then I had to do research about, okay, what do I need to do to really get this thing clearly, because it was I did political science. It was a very tense atmosphere, especially in Lagos State University. Now the point is, I took a decision. I went to meet an 80-year-old man in my area in Yaba. I would come from school and come home to meet the man and say, Daddy, I want to also join this year, because he's an active politician himself, and another man who was also in his 60s at the time. So I met with them and said, I want to be joining you to attend your political meetings. Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, I kid you not, they took me to the party ward meeting. From ward meeting, so I'll come on weekly basis on the days that they have ward meeting. I'll come for ward meeting. Later, I go with them to. I then started going with them to what do you call it? LGA meetings. From there, they drafted me into caucus meeting, because at the time they wanted to conduct election in Lagos, local government election. So there was this different caucus under the same party then and all that. They drafted me. So early Saturday morning, 7 a.m., we were already in the ward chairman's house, who also belonged to another caucus, in his parlor, deliberating on issues. So I saw perspectives. I saw a broader spectrum through which you can analyze issues. How you can pay attention. I saw strategies, real life strategies, not another. I saw strategies. I saw intelligence, market women, intelligence at levels that you would not even expect or you would not believe are coming. So you have to pay attention to this. So I started documenting. Of course, they didn't know what I was there for. They just felt, oh, but you're over the politician, Lola, and all that. I'm talking of about almost about 14, 15 years ago now. What is my point? My point is that at the end of the day, yes, we would have sometimes a candidate that wants to contest for maybe a councillor will come visit. The one that wants to contest for House of Assembly will come visit. They could give up 10,000 naira as a word, 20,000 naira as a word. Sometimes by the time they share the money, I get like 220 naira and all those things. Of course, that was not the intent, but of course, it was enough to also get you a lunch after attending a long meeting. The meetings were usually long, but that's not the point. My point really is that there were lessons that you would never have learned on just in class or political science class, even if you study political science. So I also saw how to appreciate perspective. I also saw something significant, that decisions that they were going to take. It was at the end of the tenure of Governor Fashola there. The decisions they were going to take at state level, some of those decisions were already taken and then will be discussed at what level, that these are the intent of the government. They're about to bring up this policy. So bring your children. If you know you have a child that is 18 years and above and that has this, bring your documents and all that. So they're already creating information at another level. Information started before it gets to the outside world are already being shared and spread. So you begin to see strategies, you begin to see applications, you begin to see how opportunities also spread. But that's not my point really is that sometimes there's so much that you can imagine when you try as much as possible to get local and to get connected to your people. Another way you can also join, we are looking at the house, is volunteering. Yeah, I have a busy schedule. I work 9 to 5. I don't have time for all these politics and their meetings, but I just want to also participate at a level and all that. You can choose to volunteer. When I say volunteer now, there are projects, there are programs that government, both at local level and state level or even national level, bring up. When these programs come out, you can actually just volunteer. You can say, I want to join the team that I just want to join. I just want to be part of this. So you can volunteer through your intellectual prowess. You can volunteer through your skills. You could decide to say, I will man the area, IT area for you, maybe the database collection for this project. I will just So when people know that you are primarily after giving service and not after what they want to give you, they begin to respect you more, because usually givers are usually more respected than takers. So you begin to see yourself, just be intentional, and it's not difficult to volunteer. Go to any local government today, ask them, oh, what are the programs and the projects that you have at hand, and oh, we need instead of this and all that, they tell you they need 20 young people to help them do this and all that. You tell, okay, what are the, just take the first step. Martin Luther King, will say, take the first step in faith. You don't need to see the whole stairs. If your intent is right and you are desirous of change, please take the first step in faith. And that's the encouragement I have for someone here today. That you are thinking, oh, I'm busy, I don't have time and all that, but you have interest in making change. Just take the very first step in faith, and then you will see that through volunteering for projects, for programs, for the implementation of some of these things, you just see that you can make a difference. Another area is this: you can be a part of a civil society group. You can be a part of a civil society group. And what do civil society do really? They help to checkmate government. They help to provide direction for governance. They help to, of course, they have different areas, different allocation, different interest group and all that. But primarily, they also help to, you could have civil society on human rights, for instance. They also help to checkmate the excesses of government. They provide direction. They give policies. They help. They announce. They question abuses and misuse of authority of governmental power and all that. So they also solve problems. That's why you also have NGOs that solve. So be part of this network. You are participating politically. That's what I'd like you to know and all that. And I don't want to begin to mention examples of existing and active civil society groups. Now, that's not the point for this meeting. I'm just telling you to see that there are dimensions and different areas you can actually engage politically, and you are still making impact without necessarily saying, oh, vote for me in the next election, I'm contesting and all that. You can make impact to a significant point that you become a reference point when needs arise, that you become a reference point and the solution provider and the go-to person when there are strategic issues at hand, because they know that you have value. And everybody and anybody, I tell you, has value at different levels. And that's why I'm encouraging and inspiring you that, see, don't leave politics as just one sphere for people that are unserious or people that are interested in just eating up our national wealth and all that. Start looking at it from the angle of how. And that's what I'm doing. I'm listing out the hows for you. Where can I plug in? Regardless of how busy you are, regardless of what your goals are, regardless of your itinerary and all that, you have a place. You have a role to play if you are interested in making a difference, especially with regards to governance and society in general. And politics is not a place that you need to isolate yourself totally from. You can get involved, and if your issues are around values, compromises, and all that, see, there's a principle called you may not necessarily isolate yourself, but you can insulate yourself. And that is also a significant point, because instead of everybody saying, I don't want to get involved, this wala is too much, getting out of the system, you can be part of it and make the difference, insulating yourself from the vices. Yeah, it may look difficult, and that's why you also gain strength as one of the values of engaging politically. Another area or way you can also politically be active is join a political party. I can't say this more or less, but I just emphasize it. Join a political party. Yes, Nigeria is a multi-party state. We have room for. I think we have over 50 political parties. Every time INEC reduces them, says the number of them do not meet up the required numbers, then later they increase them again, a new party registered and all that. But point I'm making is, see, sometimes rather than condemning and criticizing and just chastising government and their actors, sometimes some of the things that you can just do are just within your hand to also start effecting the change. And sometimes when you are not in this circle, you may not be able to make so much change. And you may say, oh, it's just one word there, but you must start from somewhere. Everyone that is active up there today started from joining a political party. at a ward level. That is why even the national chairman of a political party in Nigeria could be yanked off his position as the national party of a ruling party just from a ward level. Because like I told you, politics every time and everywhere is first local. And you cannot just you cannot just disregard the weight of joining a political party from your ward level. So don't say, oh, it's just ordinary, just join first. And how do you join? There are two major political parties in Nigeria, frontliners anyway. You can organize you may decide not to join any of the two. And I'm saying this with every sense of responsibility. You can. And that's why I'm using this opportunity to call on other political parties that were active. I don't want to start mentioning names during the last election. Where are they today? This is the time to start building, mobilizing people. This is the time for mobilization. This is the time for sensitization. Parties that wants to win election don't emerge and run the process of winning election in 1 year. Election is not a joke. It's not a child's play. It's not something that you just play on people's emotions and portray yourself as the best that they should take and they just jump on the bandwagon. Elections are deliberate creation. You must have like an architectural blueprint. 5-year goal plan, 10-year goal plan. And these are the ways that we should be thinking. We should be thinking global. We should be thinking long term. We should be thinking strategically. And it's not something that you just jump. So I'm using this opportunity to also challenge other political parties to come on board and start giving people opportunity to participate. Because one of the reasons Nigerians are not really, especially young people, are not really engaging politically is also the platform through which, party platform through which they feel they can participate well, give their intelligence, give their skills, and these things should not prop up 6 months to an election. So I'm encouraging and I'm also saying that, see, we can organize and also support an existing political party. You can also join existing ones, because you say, oh, it is this kind of people that are in this party. APC and PDP are the same and all that, yeah, and all that. If they remain the same and they continue to govern, what difference does it make? It only puts you only at a position of being a critic. And critics have not built anything in the world. The people that make things happen are the people that act. So why not even join, whether it's PDP, whether it's APC, whether it's ANA, whether it's there's a new one that propped up during the NSAS project. I don't know if it's active or if it's alive, or YP, Young People's Party, and all those. So all kinds, just be deliberate, because I also don't want to say that though you can participate in other ways without joining party. I also want to encourage you to join a political party. And also you of course it's based on ideology. Someone can ask me that, oh, what if you want to join political and the parties that are available, you don't believe in the ideology, you don't you really want to participate but you don't believe in the ideology. It is people there that have created this ideology. And this ideology are not necessarily domesticated at every strata or every part of their network. You can make the difference from your own word. Join and let people see that you have values. You are a creator of value, not a consumer. And start building a force. Make yourself relevant first. See, people are naturally attracted to values. Put your own voice, put your own interest, put your own words, speak for your people, and bring up solutions. And you'll be surprised at how easily you can climb the ladder and all that. So I encourage you, join a political party. That is also another way to participate politically. Another way is content creation. Thank God for social media. Thank God for the wave of the internet. Thank God for connectivity and all that. See, a lot of people are in their homes today making so much money doing different kinds of business and ventures. Politics is not an exception. I'm not saying that you're doing it to make money for politics now. I'm saying that you can create content that had value to people. And with a sense of humility, I want to say this is a platform that is also providing direction in that line. And I'm proud to say it, because I also thought, see, there is something everybody has to give at different levels. You can create an app that helps to maybe collect data, that helps to solve a problem that does something and all that, you go say, oh, government, let government do something that will shake government, that they will come after you. And I heard that about the people, a set of people creating an app that solved this NIN problem, and then the government went after them and say, oh, they want to do this and all that. Let it be that you are even creating a content that is solving a problem, that is engaging our, without mentioning the particular blog. I remember a few years ago, and they are still active, maybe not as active as they were a few years ago. An online news platform came up in Nigeria and was using, sometimes I ask, how do they get some of this news? They will just bring out an audio recording of maybe a senator doing this and all that. They will bring out video evidences. They will tell us news, breaking news. And that put a lot of pressure on government. And everybody was very careful. And how did they get all this info? It was content creation, it was deploying skills, it was deploying strategies, it was intelligence at different level and all that. Condemn them regardless of whose interest they were fighting for and whose interest they represent. The point really is that somebody created a content and became an influencer, and that is the kind of influencer I want to emphasize. Let us be positive influencers. Not, I said in one of my posts recently that some influencers are actually influencers, spreading viruses everywhere. Since you don't spread virus, why not consider yourself an influencer that spread values? And I like you to look at that. So that way too, you can speak up, you can act up, you can do a lot of things. You can create an online political debate, you can engage people, you can interview a lawmaker or even a governor or something online. You can engage people using the content, but you must be the value that would attract some of these things. Another point is also protest and movement. Yeah, there's something that is called anomic pressure group, that a pressure group that gather around a particular issue for a particular period, and then the NSAS movement, for example, was a level of movement that puts pressure on government to act immediately, even though there were issues around credibility, issues around management of the crisis, the people and all that. But we cannot deny the force this group that did not have a face, as it were, to say these are our leaders and people that created the whatever. You could see the impact that it made. Government was saying immediately that we have approved in less than 2 weeks. We have approved your this. We are the things that naturally with the IG was saying, oh, we've banned this, we've done this. Even the president at some point, after up and down, the president too spoke up to say this and all that, and then later they said they've approved 5 out of 5 and all that. Point I'm making is, it was also another system of engaging the political system. But that, for me, is a beautiful one, and the impact lasts really well. But it does not necessarily represent an active political, except if it's a long-term movement. But it's a very good dimension of political participation, that people come on to say with one voice, well mobilized, to say this is what we want, and they stand. But how sustainable is it? Once your interest is achieved, everybody disperses, and that is the end of the project. But point I made, and that's why sometimes you have to find a way that you are consistently connected to a system that has value to the political system, or you are consistently creating a solution. You are committed to something significant, and you are deliberate about it. You are not just a consumer. You are also creating content to solve problems. So you must be deliberate about some of these things. So another one I like to say is that decide to vote during election, which is one of the things I consider the unfortunate reality of our own world. When I say our own world, I mean the world of the young people, who take about 58 to 60% of the voting population. In fact, at the last election, it was over 60% of the voting population, yet are only more active on the social media, criticizing, providing solutions that they will not be part of, and also condemning without getting into the process. And I challenge you that between now and 2023 as a Nigerian, for example, your priority as a level of as a level of civility is to also get your PVC ready and be determined to contest during election. I can see a lot of people joining. Thank you so much for joining, and I'm so encouraged by this. Tachaka, Caleb, Chuku, I can see all of you. Thank you so much. So, but like I said, your priority should be to vote, be committed. Not 6 months to election, we'll start mobilizing ourselves to say, let us vote, your PVC is your right. And then the political system is strategically designed, if you're not sensitive to this information, to deprive people that want to usurp the system. For example, if you say that you're waiting for 6 months or the year to election before you get serious about getting sure that you have your PVC and all that, I'm not saying this is what the government will do. You want to pull out an establishment. They have 20-something years experience actively in politics. They know what to do. What if they make the system to just be frustrating that you won't still get registered at that last minute? So INEC says, we are opening up continuous voters registration. Get it serious and get serious with it. Mobilize people. Be determined at different levels. Start the change from your locality. You will be surprised at how wide the fire can spread. And we must be intentional about it. And that's why I'm challenging again. I'm challenging again and again all the other political parties that sprung up during the last election. Where are they now? What are they doing with regards to mobilization, sensitization, political education, and giving clear direction as to how and where to go come the next election? Giving us credible alternative, not 6 months to election. I keep repeating that word. Giving us credible alternative and mobilizing this energy that young people already has somehow for a change. So I'm still using this to challenge them that it is high time we started looking at a better way and a clearer direction for Nigeria. Otherwise, whether you like it or not, still join the existing political or the active political parties and start making your difference from your locality. The last one I'll say is innovative approaches. Everywhere and every time and across all spectrums of life, there are usually new things, new inventions, new approaches, new ways of doing things and all that. The political sphere should not be isolated from this reality. Nigerians are so intelligent that they provide solutions. Let us have engaging, innovative ideas that can turn around things. Thank you so much for your comment. I can see everything. Thank you so much. I'm really honored. Now, we need innovative approaches. Yes, we've seen a lot of sometimes more negative than positive works that young people do that has portrayed young Nigerians as they just they are too this for that. But these things are not true. It's just what the world has made us to believe. There are a lot of more young people, social innovators, doing exploits, solving problems, providing healthcare, providing education at their level without any government support, even without grants. Because sometimes when we see some things that some young people are doing, we think, it is because they've gotten grants. No, even without grants, they are committed to say, I want to make a difference in my lifetime. But can we aggregate this energy? Can we look at better ways of solving people's problems and we are intentional about it? And that's the last thing I'd like to challenge us with as we begin to round up for this night session. We've looked at all the house. Don't forget, I talked about learning. I dwelt extensively on learning. I talked about identifying locally. When I talked about learning about a bit of your political history. I'm just recapping for those that joined us late, a bit of your political history, understanding concepts when they are mentioned, federalism, restructuring. Just doing a Google search can help you. Researching about your identity, where you are from. When you don't know your identity, you also lose. Without knowing your identity, you may not be able to channel your energy appropriately. So learn a bit about yourself, about the country, about our divides, how diversified we are, and how beautifully we are integrated, and what better can we just do learning foundation. Number 2, I talked about identifying locally and also starting small. Be deliberate about connecting with the people in your environment, with the people in your political sphere, and learning, and also making Putting pressure. I gave an example of how just two of us were able to just sponsor an idea, and a local government chairman accepted the idea, and we started just going, not knowing anybody, just saying we want to see, submitting a letter and all that. I also talked about volunteering. See, until you say that it's not your 9 to 5 engagement is not an excuse for you to also play your own role. You can volunteer. There may be projects, there may be programs of government that you can volunteer in. You also can be a part of a civil society. I've explained that in detail. You can donate. I didn't mention that earlier. You can donate to a movement. That was of course, Obama had been making impact. Of course, at the time he became the first time the United States president. Don't forget that one of the things that worked so well for him was the almost unmanageable flow of support in terms of financial resources and people's volunteering to support his project and agenda and all that. So you can also decide that, see, I may not be the one running, I may not be the one that will do this or also be part of it physically, but I will donate to this cause. If you believe in something, one of the evidence that you believe in anything is when you put your money in it. And that's why they say put your money where your mouth is. That is an evidence of commitment. So that can be another dimension, another way to look at it. Then you can, I also mentioned, you can join a political party, and we dwelt a lot on that. You can also be a content creator. You can join protests and movements that are value driven, that are principled, and that you know that you have an end to it and well coordinated. Your impact may even be to coordinate such protests, to making sure that the essence for which they were set out originally were achieved. And then we talked about deciding to vote during elections and also innovative approaches. Also, you can run for an election. That's another day, another one for another day. But that's also, but before you decide to run for an election, you must have been an active political participant. So lastly, as I round up, I like it just do something very simple for you. Give you an ideal politician's resume, and you now compare it to what we have in our politician, in our own, in this side of the divide. And globally, a politician is expected to have sound education, at least basic, to higher institution level generally. Though there are exceptions to that, so I'm not making it a rule. Sound education. So it's not even about, oh, I have a PhD. Let's leave it at sound education. I'm sure you get what I'm saying. Number two, work experience. Should have work experience. Should be able to tell us what you've done in your lifetime. These are places you've worked. These are the years, number of years you've worked here, and these are the impacts you've made. And an ideal politician also should have engaged in different levels of volunteering at different levels. Because if you had volunteered, you will understand service. Because some people have actually worked all their life, but they don't really understand the essence of service. But if you had volunteered maybe with an NGO, apart from NYSC now, because that one is compulsive, so I don't want to go into that. But point is, if you had volunteered at one level or the other, you would understand the value of service, and you can also trace your track record. And also another important one is leadership. You must also have track record of leadership. You've provided leadership does not mean that before you can be a governor, you must have become a local government chairman or a representative of a constituency. No, you could be a leader over 20 people and manage and get record of achievement that are significant and all that. It is who you have become that matter more than what you have or what you are controlling. It is the person you have become, and that will be evident in the weight of your impact. So that is another very good point on an ideal politician's resume. And also must have notable accomplishments, and most times especially must have been well published. It's not a must, but those are just like additional. Now, an ideal politician also, some of the skills is public speaking. So you begin to ask yourself, I'm not mentioning names, I'm just saying that some of these things, that track record, some of these things, how many of our politicians, frontline, when I say politicians, I'm saying people actively engaged in maybe in office, how many of them really can bring out some of these things? Yet they come to us during election, bring out resources, manifesto, they have endorsements, and then they get elected. Do we even ask detailed questions? Who are the people that should ask detailed questions? Is it the market women who are just who protect their own interests, or you and I that sit behind and just condemn and criticize from the screens of our phone? So those are fundamental questions. An ideal politician is sociable, is relatable, is a political debater. He can engage. He can engage with persuasion, with intelligence, with with balancing of interests. Is analytic. Is intelligent. I mean, those are basic. But when you look at what we have in reality, and that's why a people will continue to remain at the level of its leaders. So you cannot, or you may not necessarily be able to outgrow your leaders, as it were. That's why we need to be paying more attention to leadership, political engagement, political activity. Ladies and gentlemen, it's such a joy to have come to you again, and I believe that, like I said the other time, this is just a platform to share ideas, share opinion. Of course, as we move on, I believe that we've added value. I believe that you've held on to one thing or the other. You, at least, even if it's one key point that you've gotten from this session, I believe it will be valuable. I also believe that I've not only enlightened you, I've inspired you. And this is the point for which I want to say thank you so much for joining. I've seen a lot of people join. Akinde Solomon, Adekunle. I've seen a lot of people that had joined earlier. Adekunle Bolaji, thank you. Okay, Ebenezer Shenu Ayodele. A lot of people that have joined. I saw all of you. I didn't just want to interrupt the entire flow. So I'm really grateful, because by the time you join too, it's also a level of encouragement, and I'm also fired up to do more. So see this as also one of my own content creation platforms, especially in the light of encouraging people, enlightening people, and inspiring people to get engaged with the political system, to play their role, and to not leave it for just a few people to continue to dominate. Your own value is also needed. Even though you came late to like more sanity, I respect you. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great night, everybody, and have a blessed week. We will see next Sunday. I would also put out the topic for next week. Just follow me on my social media platforms, especially on Facebook and Instagram. You would see the next post for the next topic we'll be discussing. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful week. Thank you, because you have made it another beautiful night. Bye for now.